Hi, and welcome to New Hampshire Politics and Policy. I'm State Senator Cindy Rosenwald from Nashua, and you're watching us on Channel 96, Nashua Public Television. And I'm really excited today. My friend and former seatmate, former State Senator Melanie Levesque from the other part of Nashua, Hollis, Brookline, Mason, and some other towns heading west, who's running for the Senate again, has agreed to come down and chat with us. It's great to see you, Melanie.
It's great to see you always, Cindy, Senator Rosenwald.
How's the campaign going?
It's going wonderfully.
Yeah.
We're knocking on a lot of doors, meeting people, giving them hope that we'll be able to correct the ship here in New Hampshire. It's very exciting.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, you grew up in Nashua, right?
Yes, I did.
Nashua High School graduate?
Yes, I was.
Back in the day when there was only one high school?
Yes, that's all I'm going to say.
Right.
There was only one high school,
That's pretty recent. There have been two.
Yeah.
But so you're a native.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes in Nashua over the years. And now you've been living close to Nashua, but still spending a lot of time here.
Yes, my home is in Brookline now. I've lived there for 30 years. But I grew up in Nashua. I was not born here, but came here when I was about 3 years old.
Oh, so really your whole education and childhood were here in Nashua.
That's right, yeah.
Well,
and it's good to be representing Nashua.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what issues are important to Nashua voters. And I know that you know how important the issue of passenger rail is to people who live here. I mean, a huge percentage of our population works in Massachusetts, or at least part of the time they do. And you were the prime sponsor of Senate Bill 241 a couple of years ago.
Yes, that's right.
Which put in place, with no state funding, the last important piece of the research to determine the economic feasibility. I think that project is in the field now, but talk a little bit about what you hear from people when you talk to voters in Nashua about passenger rail.
Well, many voters that I talk with are very excited about the thought of having rail. It will help Nashua become a more robust city. It will bring people from Boston and bring people to Boston area. And it's actually going to go all the way up to Manchester, and perhaps someday it will go up to Concord. But not only people from Nashua, but people from Hollis. I was recently with people from Ringe. They also like the idea of having passenger rail. And this last phase that was passed was covered financially. We had the funds to cover that. So I'm excited to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to being part of the next step.
I think it's great, and it's really important to our business community.
Yes.
They are, 100% behind the issue of passenger rail. They believe it's going to help them recruit employees and just bring more business into Nashua. So it's just so important, and you've been a real leader
thank you.
On the issue of rail. Now, I know from talking to voters that cost of living is a really important issue to voters right now, and I'm sure you're hearing that same refrain from people that life has gotten more expensive, wages haven't kept up, and we have our $7.25 an hour minimum wage.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about one of the big cost drivers on a family budget, and that's property taxes. I'm sure you hear what I hear, that property taxes are a burden, and the state should be doing more to help property taxpayers.
Yeah, I do hear a lot about property taxes, and they They are a burden, but that is the only way that we have of taxation at this point. One of the deep concerns that I have is that when we take money away from our public education institutes, the public education is about between like 60 to 90% of a property tax bill. Depending where you live, it may be 60 in Ringe, but it's much higher in New Hampshire. And when we give money to private schools and homeschoolers, it actually takes away from that money. So, but it still has to be paid. So that's one way that, we may see a price increase because of the vouchers that have been put in place.
Well, not only the vouchers, which are $9 million over budget, and, as I'm sure you know and believe, that affects both state revenues but also property taxes.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
there is not a relationship in a large district, at least like Nashua, 11,000 students. Any one student leaving the Nashua school system to take a voucher to go to private school or be homeschooled, there is no reduction in fixed cost to the Nashua school budget. You still need the building, you still need a bus, you still need a classroom, water, heat. I mean, there's just money walks out the door per student. $4,600 leaves, but that just means that $4,600 has to get picked up by Nashua's property taxpayers. And the other big part of this on education is that the current state budget, the Republican-passed budget, cut public school funding by about $70 million. And so that is just going to lead to increased cost to property taxpayers.
Yeah, many people don't draw that connection.
No, but
I think it's important that you share that.
As you point out, schools are the biggest part of a property tax. And the other part is for the last 12 years, the state has paid no contribution to the public employees' cost for the retirement system. Up until 2011, the state was paying, I think, 25% of the employer cost. It's now zero. And that works out to about almost $30 million a year that is additional on property taxpayers. There was a 1-year small contribution that was passed. It will save property taxpayers across the state $8.5 million, but it's a built-in property tax increase next year. So that's kind of unfortunate. And I know that you and I together will work to not raise property taxes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know you've been following the state budget the last 2 years, even while you were not in the Senate. There's a lot of policy that was crammed into the budget at the last minute. Do you want to talk about a few of those things?
Yeah, certainly. First of all, we have the divisive language where teachers cannot teach history, or if somebody's offended by that, our teachers could be sued. So that's now in the state budget. Secondly, school vouchers are in the state budget. And then thirdly, the 24-week abortion ban is also in the budget. And one would have thought those would be separate bills that are voted on. Actually, they were separate bills from what I understand, and there was testimony given.
The abortion ban is different. That actually never had a public hearing on the form that went into the budget. And everything I've seen shows that it's pretty unpopular with voters. New Hampshire is a very pro-choice state, and we're not supposed to put policy in the budget, only the policies changes that are needed to make the budget work. So it was inappropriate to put this ban on teaching about our the connection between our history and our current life on any kind of controversial topic, which includes not only racism, but anti-Semitism, misogyny, LGBTQ, any of that. Teachers have really been prohibited from talking about how the past might have an impact on our present. And I think that's most unfortunate. The governor's, even his own diversity, equity, and inclusion panel opposed that policy, and it's in the budget. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. It is. Another unfortunate thing is it has caused, amongst other things, have caused teachers to leave. And we're going to have a teacher shortage. So I think it's really important that we turn these things around. I don't think we should be about culture wars.
No.
We should be about passing
and-
good legislation that benefits our communities.
That's true. Now, when you were in the Senate, you were chair of the Election Law Committee.
Yes.
And there have been some further attempts to restrict the vote that the governor signed into law. I know there's litigation surrounding it, but can you tell our viewers what the current bill, the current law, the new law does?
Yeah, well, currently, this law, which will not go into effect until 2023, so it's not an issue.
It's not going to affect this election.
Right, not for the upcoming election. But it requires people who do not have the identifications typically needed to register to fill out an affidavit. And that affidavit is also looks different. The ballot actually looks different. So you can tell the difference between the ballots, which is not necessarily constitutional. But that person has 7 days to prove that they are who they are. And if they don't, then their ballot won't be counted.
So does that mean that it's possible that somebody might see how a particular voter voted because it's got a code or a number assigned to it, that it matches with that voter? But if they don't get the information in on time, somebody can look at their specific ballot and their vote would never be secret.
Correct. The anonymity is gone.
And that's really a key underpinning for us. Well, hopefully that's not going to lead to a terrible outcome here. We're going to run out of time. I could talk to you for so much longer, but I'll look forward to talking to you when you're my seatmate again in January. And I wish you all of the best. Do you want to tell viewers what your website is or your Facebook page? How can they reach you if they want to know more?
Yeah, the best way to reach me is through my website, and I'm Melanie Levesque. I'm running for state senate, and the website is www.melanie4nh.com. So check me out there.
That's wonderful.
It's great to be with you.
The wards in Nashua that are in your district are 1, 2, and 5.
Right, and 5 has had a little bit of a shift, right?
Right. Some families from Ward 9 are now in Ward 5. So,
so
some
check your
people
ballot.
might be voting in a different place. Well, thank you for coming on. You've been watching New Hampshire Policy and Politics. I'm State Senator Cindy Rosenwald, and this is Channel 96 on Nashua Public Television. I've enjoyed my chat with Melanie Levesque, who's a leader on rail, a leader on voting rights, and a leader on reproductive privacy. And I wish you lots of luck And I know you're out there working hard.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.